The Smurl haunting USA. Imagine this. You move into what seems like the perfect family home. Spacious, quiet, and nestled in a peaceful neighborhood. But what if I told you that every night, as the sun sets, your home becomes something else? What if the walls begin to whisper, the floors groan beneath your feet, and an overwhelming sense of dread slowly starts to consume you? This is the reality that the Smurl family faced when they moved into their dream house in West Pittston, Pennsylvania. A house that was anything but ordinary. In the early 1970s, the Smurls were a typical American family looking for a place to settle down. The house they purchased at 328 Chase Street seemed ideal, large, with a beautiful front yard and enough space for their growing family. But soon, things began to take a turn for the worse. The first sign was the overwhelming, putrid odor that would inexplicably fill the house. No matter how many times they cleaned, the smell would return, as if the very air was thick with something decaying. The family tried everything, from deep cleaning to calling in experts, but nothing worked. Then came the strange noises. At first, it was just the occasional sound of footsteps in the hallway at night. Soft, deliberate, as if someone was pacing. But soon, the noises escalated. Heavy objects began to move on their own. Doors slammed shut with violent force, and eerie whispers echoed through the empty rooms. It wasn't long before the Smurls realized they weren't alone in their new home. The haunting was not confined to just sounds. One night, as the family slept, the youngest daughter, Heather, awoke to see a dark, shadowy figure looming over her bed. She froze in terror, unable to scream or move. The figure was a black mass, almost human in shape, but with no discernible features, just an ominous presence that seemed to drain the warmth from the room. Heather wasn't the only one to experience this. Her sister, Karen, also reported seeing shadows that moved on their own, creeping across the walls and floor, as though alive. But the most terrifying part of the Smurl haunting was the entity that seemed to target the father, Jack Smurl. Jack became the primary victim of the dark force that inhabited the house. At night, he would wake to feel something pressing down on his chest, suffocating him with an invisible weight. He described it as being held down by something powerful, something otherworldly, as though a malevolent spirit was trying to drag him into the depths of the earth. His sleep was filled with nightmarish visions, faces contorting in agony, eyes that seemed to follow him, and cold, chilling laughter that echoed in the dark corners of the house. As the days passed, the family's lives became a living nightmare. The atmosphere in the house grew suffocating, with an oppressive sense of evil hanging in the air. At times, the family would hear disembodied voices, low growls and high-pitched screeches that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Desperate for answers, they turned to a local priest, Father Al, who had a reputation for dealing with paranormal cases. He agreed to perform an exorcism, but he, too, was unprepared for the terrifying force that lay within the Smurl home. During the exorcism, the entity became more violent. Furniture flew across the room, crashing against the walls with unrelenting force. The temperature plummeted, and Father Al could feel the presence of something ancient and evil, something far more powerful than any human had ever encountered. It was as though the house itself was alive, pulsating with dark energy, feeding off the fear and suffering of the family. Despite the exorcism, the Smurls continued to live in fear. The haunting didn't stop. It only grew worse. The family was eventually forced to leave the house, and the Smurl haunting became one of the most well-documented and terrifying paranormal cases in history. But the story doesn't end there. The house on Chase Street remains standing, its dark history whispered about by locals. And while the Smurls moved on, their lives forever changed. Many still wonder if the house still holds the same malevolent force it did when they lived there. What if one day you walked past that very house? Would you feel the chill in the air, the whispers at your back, and the cold touch of something unseen? The Smurl haunting serves as a reminder that sometimes, the horrors we face aren't just in our nightmares. They're lurking just behind the walls, waiting for the next family to move in.